Hi, it's Chris, and this is my review of reading through the Bible in a year. Tonight's reading is October 2nd, and it included Mark chapter 3, verses 7 through 12, actually through 19, and then we get into Luke chapter 6 and Matthew chapter 5, and they kind of bounce between the rest of the reading is between Matthew and Luke, and the different accounts of they have a similar accounts of the places in the Bible, the stories, the time periods where Jesus is at. First, we get the crowds following Jesus, and last night somebody asked the question about the people, about when Jesus healed the people. Jesus said and told them not to tell anyone about him, but yet they did. And my question back is was that a sin in their eyes? He commanded them not to do it, and yet they went and did it. Or was that more of a challenge? But of course, when we get here, in Mark chapter 3, verse 11, or actually verse 11 and 12, it says when he came to people that were possessed by demons, the demons would throw the person on the ground and shriek that you are the Son of God. And Jesus sternly commanded the spirits not to reveal who he was. I wonder why that is. I don't have an answer. That's something to think about. Something to think about. That was a good question. Jesus chooses the 12 apostles. We've got the Mark account of that, and Mark 13 through 19, and Luke 6, 12 through 16. And the only thing I really noticed about that is in Mark he calls Thaddeus, and then in Luke Luke calls him Judas, son of James. That's the only one that's different. Judas, son of James, and Thaddeus, I'm assuming, are the same person. And then we get the Sermon on the Mount, the Beatitudes, and then we get the Luke account of that, which is similar but different. And I've always kind of heard that might be a little bit different time period, like he did one and another, but who's to say? But it does account very similar, the same things of God blesses, and I like the New King James Version. I've just read it more times this way, but God blesses those who are poor and realize their need for him. He blesses those who mourn, they will be comforted. He blesses those who are humble, they will inherit the kingdom of earth. Then those who are hunger and thirst for justice, merciful, hearts are pure, those who work for peace, they bless and persecute. God blesses those who are persecuted for doing right. And that's also a kingdom of heaven is theirs. So, and he tells us to be happy about being persecuted over him. That's a blessing. You should be considering that a blessing if we're being persecuted because we're speaking him and speaking about him. Interesting. I have thoughts on that, but I'm going to hold tight to them. Keep those ones in. Sorrow is foretold. What sorrow awaits those who are rich? And that was one I wanted to go back and check into my version of it. Not my version, but New King James version of it. That was Luke chapter 6, verses 24 through 26. And it reads, let's see, what I'm going to read you is NLT, the New Living Translation, 24 through 26. What sorrow awaits you who are rich, for you have only your happiness now. What sorrow awaits you, you who are fat and prosperous now, for a time of awful hunger awaits you. What sorrow awaits you who laugh now, for your laughing will turn to mourning and sorrow. What sorrow awaits you who are praised by the crowds, for their ancestors also praised false prophets. Now, the New King James Version says, woe to you who are rich, for you have received your consolation. Woe to you who are full, for you shall hunger. Woe to you who laugh now, for you shall mourn and weep. Woe to you when all men speak well of you, so did their fathers and to the false prophets. Oof. That'd be a warning. How are you being perceived? People pleasers, be careful. Good warning against us. Then we get teaching about salt and light, teaching of the law, that Jesus didn't come to abolish the law, but he came to accomplish their purpose. And again, that law in Hebrews, I think it's Hebrews, that says the law is like a mirror. We get to see the reflection of us in the law. We see the law. Jesus says that, or God has said that the laws that we were given were for our own good. They help us when we follow those laws. So Jesus comes to fulfill the law, the purpose of the law. And he says, not one, New King James says, not one dot or tittle, not one period or comma will be abolished. And it won't disappear until its purpose is achieved. Some of the law's purpose has been achieved, right? We know that. We know that by how Jesus acted on things, but we have to be careful how we, there's a great warning against how we interpret that. So that is something we have to watch and be very cautious on, and be able to discern what is laws of the Old Testament that we absolutely need to follow, and laws of the Old Testament that have been accomplished because Jesus is here. We need to discern that, and that's the source of so many debates too. So we need to keep that in mind. That is a very sensitive area, and it should be. And that's right here in the teaching. And then in Matthew chapter 25, verse 21 to 26, this is teaching about anger. We don't murder, but even anger is, Jesus took those commands about, the murder, the adultery. He took that and kind of blew it up, that your intent of the heart is murder. Your intent of the heart can be adulterer without making the action. So we really need to check our heart and our thought process and what we're actually doing. Same thing with adultery. Same thing about divorce. Same thing about vows. Just let your yes be yes, your no be no. We don't need to swear by things. People would swear by things and with the intent that they could back out of that if they swore by certain things. That's what the Pharisees and Sadducees would teach, that they could swear. They could, if they swore by the temple or the gifts of the temple, one had more meaning over the other. One had more weight over the other. And Jesus is saying, cut that out. If you're going to do something, do it. Don't be messing around. Don't play games. Teaching about revenge. Let God have all the revenge. Teaching about love for your enemies. And again, this is difficult, but we get a great example of that. Erica, Kurt, forgive the one who shot Charlie. Great example of forgiving enemies. It's very helpful. And it says, don't just love your friends, love your family, but love your enemies. Truly love them and pray for them. And when you pray for them, pray good things for them. Pray blessings on them. In that you will heap burning coals on their head by blessing them. Don't curse them. Again, remember, even an enemy is an image bearer of God. Even an enemy to us is an image bearer of God. And keep in mind that we are not battling with flesh and blood, but principalities and powers of this world. So even our enemies are just being deceived. So again, we need to check that and understand that so that we can have that forgiveness for them. So that's an important thing to understand. And then the last little bit in this section, he teaches about giving to the needy. And we don't need to flaunt it. If we're giving to show others that we're generous, that's going to be our reward. That's what he's telling us. If we give with that heartbeat, just to show off to others, our reward is that showing off and the favor on men because of it. But if we give just to give and without wanting to be recognized or anything, we're building up treasures in heaven. We're serving God. We're doing as he's asking us to. So